Hello friends, in this video we will summarize the first part of Baki Rahen. This new part of the Baki story features Jack Hanma as the protagonist, on his mission to become stronger in order to finally defeat both his brother Baki and his father, Yujiro Hanma. The first part of this arc spans from chapter 1 to chapter 19 of the manga, so take a seat and enjoy the video. Baki ended with Jack Hanma making his epic comeback after several stumbles that forced him to take a break and reflect on what he was doing wrong. Jack returned bigger and stronger than ever. With his new titanium teeth, he defeated the god of sumo to make it clear that he was coming back with intentions of being recognized as the strongest of all. The story opens with the arrival of Koichiro Sabu, an aged samurai known for his unparalleled mastery of the sword. He seeks out Mitsunari to discuss important matters and to request his assistance. Despite being 63 years old, this man has not stopped training a single day and has total mastery with the katana. For those who may not know this man, he was the first opponent Musashi had when he was revived. Musashi defeated him easily, but that doesn't mean this man is weak. In fact, he almost defeated Doppo in the past. This renowned samurai, known as the Man Slicer, seeks a new challenge to rekindle his passion. He had come to visit Mitsunari because he wanted to face the legendary swordsman Musashi Miyamoto. But to his fortune or misfortune, Musashi was no longer in the world of the living, and his body had been cryogenized in a laboratory. Mitsunari tells him not to worry, because there is another man with teeth as sharp as a sword, and it would be a good challenge for a veteran like him. Sabu accepts the challenge and is confident that he can defeat this man he doesn't seem to know. The Tokyo Dome would be the venue for the fight. Obviously, Mitsunari publicized the fight and sold all the tickets. Everyone wanted to see the biting cyborg in action. The day of the fight arrives quickly, and both fighters enter the arena to the applause of the crowd. The samurai, armed with his katana, appears significantly smaller than Jack, and the narrator highlights this. The fight begins and both fighters take their combat stance. Sabu's first attack is skillfully dodged by Jack. However, the samurai launches a second strike that is also blocked. The biting cyborg grips his opponent's sword with his titanium teeth and easily breaks it, surprising Sabu, who stands motionless as he sees the weapon that gave him an advantage shattered with relative ease. Recognizing his defeat, Koichiro surrenders, knowing there is no point in trying to fight Jack without his weapon. The samurai raises his hands in a gesture of surrender, and Jack is declared the winner in a fight that lasted less than 30 seconds. Undoubtedly, one of the quickest victories in this series. Chapter 2 begins with an exterior view of a church not located in Tokyo, but in Canada, the birthplace of Jack Hanma. A priest, who has served in that church for many years, enters the building, noticing the humidity. This scene is a flashback, specifically a story from 11 years ago, involving a young Jack Hanma. The priest tells us that he remembers meeting an extraordinary young man in the past, who really impressed him day after day. One morning, the priest found Jack in the church before anyone else. Jack, who at that time was about 13 years old, was protecting the statue of the crucified Christ, deeply revered by many for its perceived power to grant miracles. Jack guarded the statue because in those days, it was very common for thieves to come and steal valuable objects from churches, so he stayed from early on to make sure no one entered the place. Moved by Jack's devotion, the priest explained to him that the statue, even if only a human creation, was divinely blessed. He told Jack that, just as he protects the statue, a greater force cares for him as well. The priest and Jack then sat in the church pews, where Jack shared his unique desire with the priest, to become the strongest being on earth. This wish surprised the priest, who noted that most children dream of becoming soccer players or doctors, not the strongest creature on earth. Fast forward to the present, the now older priest reflects on the power of dreams and how Jack's exceptional determination from a young age set him apart. Unlike other children, Jack actively worked towards his dream, training tirelessly every day, despite the toll it took on his body. After this intriguing backstory, we return to the present with Jack visiting Mitsunari, who tells Jack that the priest spoke very highly of him. Mitsunari then introduces Jack's next opponent, Kosho Shinogi, a man capable of cutting nerves with his fingers. Thus, the first major rival for Jack in this new arc is established as Kosho Shinogi, the cord cutter. The next day, Doppo Orochi is in his dojo, demonstrating his cutting technique by slicing through a metal wire in front of his son Katsumi and his pupil Kosho, who watch attentively. Doppo boasts about the precision of his cut, challenging Katsumi to replicate it. Kosho, intrigued, decides to try it himself, using not his whole hand but just one finger, achieving a cut so clean and precise it seems done by a katana. Impressed, Doppo and Katsumi debate the efficacy of using a finger compared to the whole hand, discussing its applications in real-life situations. Doppo acknowledges that while the finger cut is more precise, it is impractical for larger objects. Kosho and Doppo argue for a while until it turns into a contest when Kosho proposes an exhibition match to Doppo, who accepts eagerly. During the match, Doppo launches a direct attack that Kosho skillfully blocks, using his cutting technique to inflict considerable damage on Doppo's leg. Katsumi immediately stops the fight, telling them that this does not seem like a friendly encounter. They have turned it into something serious. Doppo and Kosho laugh and decide to stop the match as both got carried away by the excitement. What was clear is that Kosho had greatly evolved his cutting technique. Elsewhere in the city, Hanada returned to visit Hanayama. For those who don't remember Hanada, he is a character who appeared at the beginning of the series and was supposed to face Baki in the underground tournament, but was replaced by Mount Thoba. Hanada had come to ask Hanayama for help to meet with Baki, wanting to settle their unfinished fight from the past. Hanayama was not very accommodating to this request, and after a brief conversation, Hanada challenged him to a fight right there, eager to see how strong the indestructible Hanayama was. The fight took place in the dojo, and something happened that upset many, as Hanada managed to block Hanayama's most powerful attack and quickly knocked him to the ground, leaving him unconscious. Hanada seized the moment and fled the scene hastily. On the other hand, Hanayama quickly woke up but realized he had been defeated. This left a look of discouragement on his face, as he had not been able to land a single hit on Hanada. Elsewhere, we see Jack and Mitsunari having lunch together. The old man had invited Jack to gauge his opinion about his next opponent, Kosho Shinogi. Jack did not answer any of the old man's questions and just continued eating, curiously not meat but a huge beef bone, apparently a part of the animal's spine. Jack was showcasing the strength of his teeth, and now it seems that bones are part of his diet. The biting cyborg simply told Mitsunari that he knows who Kosho is, as he saw him fight in the Maximum Tournament. Remember, Kosho fought against Baki on that occasion. The old man warned him not to be overconfident, as Kosho is not the same as before. He has changed a lot since last time. Jack paid little attention and continued with his meal. Speaking of Kosho, he suddenly appeared in Mothobi's dojo. There, Hanada, who had come to visit his master, was present. Remember, Hanada was Mothobi's #1 disciple and had learned much from him in the past. Kosho challenged Hanada to a fight right there in the dojo, stressing that it wouldn't be a friendly match but a real one. He wanted the duel to be as authentic as possible since exhibition matches tend to be dull. Hanada accepted his challenge, and they proceeded to the dojo to start the fight. I won't go into detailed descriptions of the fight. I'll summarize it briefly because it really didn't last long. It was a quick bout with a lot of verbal exchanges. Kosho unleashed a flurry of cuts at his opponent. Hanada managed to dodge a few of these attacks but failed to land any hits. In fact, Kosho emerged unscathed, while Hanada ended up with cuts all over. Mothobi had to stop the fight as things were getting out of hand. He knew Hanada wouldn't surrender, but continuing the fight could have resulted in serious physical damage to his disciple. Kosho essentially wanted to test his new cutting techniques on poor Hanada, but after all was said and done, it seems that at the end of the fight, both became friends and even joked around in the dojo for a while. However, the real excitement comes now, as what happened in Chapter 8 left us all astonished. For the first time in their lives, Jack Hanma and Yujiro Hanma went on a father-son walk. I'm not sure who suggested the idea, but the important thing is that they both went out, walking shoulder to shoulder. Everyone watched them. They were two muscle-bound monsters strolling down the street, paying no attention to anything. It was truly an epic scene. Jack was the first to speak up to break the ice. He told Yujiro about his recent surgeries and his new titanium teeth. Jack thought Yujiro would make fun of him or at least reprimand him for using such methods to improve his body. However, contrary to what Jack and we thought, Yujiro acknowledged Jack's efforts and made it clear that no one, not even he, would have dared to go through what Jack has endured. This can be interpreted in several ways, but essentially, Yujiro said that only Jack could have gone through all that and lived to tell the tale. Yujiro also praised Jack's biting technique, stating that no other fighter could have elevated the art of biting to the level he had. Indeed, the art of biting perfectly suits someone like him. Jack was moved, clearly not expecting such words from his father. He was sweating. This was his body's reaction to Yujiro's compliments. Moreover, he mentioned that this was the first time in his life that his father had complimented him. This is undoubtedly the highlight of the arc, because something that seemed impossible finally happened. Moreover, Yujiro's words contrast with what others say about Jack. Many mock and belittle him for his methods of becoming stronger. But Yujiro doesn't care about that. As long as you achieve your goal, the methods don't matter. The only opinion that matters to him is that of the strongest creature on Earth. Later that same day, we see Kosho Shinogi engaging in a very peculiar training session. He was practicing his body's flexibility and agility. He said that gymnastics is a good way to maintain a firm and hard body, while also being flexible and easy to manage. Essentially, Kosho trained this way because he needed to take advantage of his size. Jack was much larger and heavier than him, so he needed to take advantage of his size and agility. He knew that if Jack got his hands on him, it would be difficult to come out unscathed, which is why he practiced gymnastics to handle close combat. His brother watched him, unable to hide his concern, and asked him to please come back in one piece. Kosho, very confident, responded that he would return unharmed and would not need his help, so he could rest easy. The day of the fight finally arrives, and the underground arena is filled with people eager to see this incredible combat. In the hallways of the arena, we can see Jack Hanma getting ready for the fight. He was doing what he usually does, recharging before going into the fight. One of Mitsunore's men told Jack that he shouldn't consume so many chemicals, or his body would suffer the consequences. Jack replied that as long as he could win the next fight, it would be enough for him. The biting cyborg has an unbreakable mentality and does not mind sacrificing his body and soul to achieve his goals. That is what he conveys with his words. On the other side of the arena, Kosho and Hinata were walking towards the combat area. Kosho took the time to warm up his muscles, while Hinata offered words of encouragement. It was noticeable that Hinata was more concerned about the fight than Kosho, but he still wished his friend good luck. Baki and the other fighters were in the crowd watching the fight, all anxious to see who would emerge as the winner of this contest. Kosho was the first to enter the arena. It was his first fight there after a long time without an official match. That night, the audience was eager to see the cord cutter in action once more. Then, Jack Hanma made his entrance, and the crowd erupted in joy. The biting cyborg was already one of their favorite fighters, and his name filled any arena. The crowd was divided. Some wanted to see the cord cutter win, while others supported the biting cyborg. Both fighters headed to the center of the arena, and as the referee explained the rules, they exchanged glances. Jack defiantly bent over, arching his body to match the height of his opponent. Some spectators considered this disrespectful, but Kosho was unfazed and simply responded to Jack with a smile. The fight began and both fighters took their positions. Kosho was the first to attack, seizing the moment when Jack was removing his shirt to throw the first punch. Kosho moved at inhuman speed, unleashing a flurry of cuts on Jack. The biting cyborg seemed unable to react in time, and although he tried to cover his face, the cuts reached various parts of his body. Thus, the fight began explosively. The audience was stunned to see Jack covered in cuts and wounds. Kosho seemed to have the situation under control at first, but it was just the beginning. However, the fight was short. If it were to be animated, it would likely last a maximum of 10 minutes. Jack dominated the entire time, giving Kosho a total beating. Kosho managed to land a blow to Jack's face, blinding him in one eye. However, this did not affect Jack, who grabbed Kosho's arm and attacked him with his bite. With his titanium teeth, Jack bit Kosho's arm and neck, after which Kosho offered no more resistance and was completely dominated by Jack. Baki and the other fighters were surprised to see Kosho being beaten up by Jack. Although they knew deep down that Jack would win, they expected Kosho to offer more resistance. Jack continued the assault with powerful kicks that kept Kosho from getting up. The biting cyborg offered Kosho a chance to end the fight on his own terms while he still could, but Kosho rejected the humiliation and attacked Jack's other eye, leaving him completely blind. As expected, Jack did not decrease his intensity and attacked with another bite on Kosho. It was obvious that the cord cutter would fall at any moment. It was only a matter of time before it was affected with so much accumulated damage. The most significant damage Kosho caused to Jack was blinding him in both eyes. Now the cyborg was in total darkness, but probably used his sense of smell to know where Kosho was. The cord cutter couldn't move and was easy prey for Jack, who with one last bite sealed the end of the fight. Kosho fell to the ground, and Jack was declared the winner. It was a short fight, but also one of the biggest beatings we've seen in this series. A while ago, I made a top beatings of the Baki series. If I do a second part, this fight will definitely be in that video. Kosho acknowledged that Jack's style is unique and spectacular, showed him his respects, and even played a joke on him while already on the stretcher. Kosho told Jack to come closer so he could say something to him. Jack agreed, but when he moved his ear closer to Kosho, he was surprised by a bite. The cord cutter had managed to trick him and gave him a light bite. This was his way of thanking him for the fight. Jack was temporarily blind, but Kosho told him that his vision would return in about a week. The fight was short but explosive. A good way to start this arc where Jack is taking center stage. What I didn't like was that the day after the fight, Kosho was as if nothing had happened. He was again training again. It's as if the beating Jack gave him didn't affect him at all. In my opinion, the injuries Jack caused should have left him incapacitated for at least a week. However, after the fight, there's a week where nothing relevant happens. Another day, we see Baki talking with Mitsunari. The old man asks Baki if he believes he can beat his brother Jack at this time. Baki honestly responds that he's not sure. Jack isn't the same as before, and it's certain he hasn't yet shown his full potential. He not only became bigger and stronger, but also smarter and more strategic, now fighting like a wild beast, weakening his prey by attacking weak points until they fall. Well, if Baki thinks that, it must be because he really isn't confident in being able to beat Jack. He usually doesn't lie about these things. Later, we saw Doppo training and preparing for what could be a fight against Jack in the future. He said his techniques are very flashy, but surely none would surprise someone like Jack. Katsumi was also there and encouraged his father during training. Then at night, the moment nobody expected occurred. Yujiro Hanma and Jack Hanma were sitting side by side dining together for the first time. If seeing them walk through the streets was unexpected, seeing them at a dinner as father and son was even more so. The dinner started off calmly with Yujiro and Jack savoring a glass of sherry while waiting for their meal. Jack was very anxious about this meeting and feared doing something that might ruin the moment, so he acted cautiously throughout most of the dinner. Yujiro raised his glass and offered a toast to Jack. The cyborg had never done something like this, and he let his father know. It was the first time he had toasted with someone. Jack was also unfamiliar with drinking sherry. It was his first glass, so he savored it in a very peculiar way. Seeing this, Yujiro commented that he had never seen anyone drink like that before. Then they brought the appetizer, which appeared to be sashimi. Jack tasted it using utensils, and upon seeing his eating manner, Yujiro took a moment to tell him that, with utensils, he was much better than Baki. Jack held onto those words, although he was only praised for his way of eating. He interpreted these words as if Yujiro had told him he was a better son than Baki. Jack was so caught up in the illusion that he even asked Yujiro for permission to eat with his hands. The ogre told him he could do so, since they were in a private room. However, he clarified that it wasn't something he should do in public. Next, they brought the main course, which consisted of a large plate of beef and lamb. The waiter explained that the lamb, served with its bones, had been slow-cooked in olive oil to enhance its flavor and tenderize it. Yujiro tasted his dish in a subtle and elegant manner, while Jack, on the other hand, ate even the bones. The ogre was intrigued to see his son handle the utensils, yet eat the bones as well. After finishing her meal, Jack decided to ask his father something he had wanted to ask since the beginning. What was the purpose of this dinner? The ogre, quite confused, asked Jack if he really needed a reason to invite him. After all, it's normal for a father to dine out with his son occasionally. The cyborg chuckled upon hearing this, almost as if he were mocking him. Yujiro, clearly annoyed by this, asked Jack what the reason for his laughter was. Jack told Yujiro that he definitely isn't a normal father, questioning whether Yujiro saw himself as a good father. Yujiro replied that he had never thought about that, never needed to question whether he was normal or not. The biting cyborg retorted that such a response was typical of him. After all, even compared to other living beings, he definitely wasn't normal. These words deeply affected Yujiro, who questioned Jack if he was implying that he was inhuman. Jack tried to apologize, saying that wasn't what he meant, but it was too late. The ogre had stood up and a terrifying aura began to surround his body. Yujiro asked Jack to stand up and come get what he was looking for. The cyborg quickly stood up and countered his father, asking if this wasn't what he wanted after all, since he had arranged this father-son meeting. The ogre told Jack he would make him cry, so he better be ready for it. The cyborg responded with total calmness, stating that it would start as soon as one of them made the first move. There would be no referee or bell. This would be a father-son showdown. And well, that's where we end with a summary of Part 1 of Baki Rahen. It has undoubtedly been a good arc so far. We have been delving a lot into the character of Jack Hanma. Now we know details of his past and his way of thinking after so many ups and downs in his life. I hope that the Geki gives us more surprises in the future with this new arc. Maybe we'll see more characters from the past return to test their skills against the biting cyborg. Now, leave me your opinions about these first 17 chapters in the comment box. And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.